This meeting is for the purpose of discussing the discipline or dismissal of a public officer, employee, staff member, or individual. A meeting such as this is presumptively within the executive session exemption of the open meeting law. The statute, General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A1, specifically provides that a public body shall hold an open session if the individual involved requests that the session be in open session. If Mr. Pilot or Zerai Miskin wish to proceed in open session, they're advised that any written material considered or discussed by the board in this matter, regardless of its nature, may be considered as a public record. Mr. Pilot, before the board votes to go into executive session, do you wish for the session to be open?
I'm Hillary Schwab. I'm speaking on behalf of Officer Pilot, and he wishes permitted to go forward in open session.
Okay. Is Mr. Pilot here?
I'm here on his behalf and have a statement prepared on his behalf.
Okay. The record will show that Mr. Pilot is not in attendance. Mr. Zerai Miskin, before the board votes to go into executive session, do you wish that the session be open?
I represent Officer Zerai Miskin, and he does wish that the session go forward in open session. I'm here on his behalf and have a statement on his behalf.
Okay. And the record will show that Mr. Zerai Miskin is not in attendance. The individuals involved in this matter that's subject to this meeting have requested that the session be open. Therefore, the board will conduct its meeting in open session. The board will provide Mr. Pilot and Mr. Zerai Miskin with all the rights provided under Section 21A1, including the right to be present during the board's deliberations, to have counsel or a representative of their own choosing and attending for the purpose of advising the individual and not for the purpose of active participation. The right to speak on their own behalf and to cause an independent record of this proceeding to be created at their expense. While the statute doesn't explicitly allow for the attorneys to present on the employee's behalf, I will permit that. The sole purpose of this meeting is to consider action on a report filed by the hearing officer who was appointed pursuant to the Civil Service Statute, General Laws, Chapter 31, Section 41. Attorney Douglas Lewison shall present the report of the hearing officer to the board. At the conclusion of that presentation, Mr. Pilot and Mr. Zerai Miskin will have the opportunity to speak on their behalf, and I understand Ms. Schwab will speak on their behalf. Following the presentation of Mr. Pilot and Zerai Miskin's statements, if any, the chair will consider a motion to act on the report. Mr. Lewison. Okay. Just hold up 1 minute. Okay, Mr. Lewison.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, my name is Doug Lewison. I'm an attorney, and I'm here to present before the board pursuant to Chapter 31, Section 41, the findings of facts and recommendations presented by the hearing officer. As the chair has pointed out, this is now a 30A Section 21 hearing to conduct the civil service statutory disciplinary proceeding that was given as a right to the two offices. The sole purpose for the board today is to consider action on a report filed by the designated hearing officer pursuant to the civil service statute. Pursuant to that law, members of the board, notice of intent for potential discipline was served separately upon the two police officers, Officers Pilot and Zerai Miskin. As the appointing authority, this board has the right and so delegated the disciplinary hearing to be conducted by an outside independent hearing officer, Attorney James Lamke, who was designated by this board. Under the special acts that established the town administrator form of government here, the town administrator appointed Attorney Lamke as the hearing officer. The hearing was done pursuant to the statute, and notice was provided to the police officers on February 17th, 2017, and then the hearing was then conducted on March 3rd. Both offices, as was their right, agreed to combine the hearing, and it was also deemed open to the public as requested by the officers. The hearing officer produced his report, his findings of fact, and recommendations to this board, which was then subsequently transmitted to the board. Now, since the board is the appointing authority, and as the board, it can only act as a duly noticed meeting. That's the purpose of this meeting, as the chair has pointed out, to vote to accept and adopt and act upon the recommendations before the board, and I believe they've all been provided to the board separately, is the findings of fact, the recommendations, and all of the exhibits. It's also my understanding, Mr. Chair and the board, that subsequent to this meeting, that material will be posted on the town's website for any persons who wishes to review it. The hearing officer drafted and submitted his report to you on April 7th, 2017. The hearing decision, the report itself, rather, is in the binder before you, and as I said, each of you, I believe, has been provided to you. It's 55 pages long. The hearing officer accepted as evidence 97 separate exhibits. 95 exhibits were submitted to the hearing officer on behalf of the town. The two police officers submitted a total of 2 exhibits. One was a letter by their attorney seeking monetary damages. The other exhibit submitted by the 2 officers was their civil complaint against the town and individuals seeking monetary damages. Both the town and the officers were offered the opportunity to present witnesses. Neither officer presented any witnesses, although given the opportunity, nor did either police officer choose to testify, to give evidence, or to explain their conduct when invited to do so by the hearing officer. Instead, they simply presented the 2 exhibits and a statement by their attorneys. The letter of contemplated discipline, which was the statutory civil service notice, which was also attached and incorporated in the findings of fact, listed 4 possible disciplinary infractions or infractions of the rules and regulations of the Brookline Police Department. The 4 were whether or not the officers disregarded a direct order, whether the 2 officers failed to report for duty, whether the officers engaged in insubordination, and whether the 2 officers were engaged in a neglect of duty. The hearing officer, in conducting this administrative semi-judicial review, raised and answered the 3 questions that were part of the disciplinary letter. The 3 questions that the attorney examined based upon the evidence and the submissions were: did the officers engage in such conduct? 2, was the conduct a violation of the rules and regulations of policies and procedures of the Brookline Police Department? And 3rd, the last question for the hearing officer and for this board ultimately to review is, if so, does the town have just cause to impose discipline? The hearing officer, after the review of all the testimony and exhibits, concluded affirmatively to each of those three questions put to him, finding that neither officer had gone to work or responded to the police commands since December 2015. That they both specifically were ordered to appear to work by the police chief for the last time on February 8th, 2017, and neither officer appeared to work or otherwise responded. Now, in the, as I had said, there is a 55-page decision by the hearing officer, and the decision is ultimately this board's. He made, under the statute, recommended findings and conclusions. At page 50 of the hearing officer's recommended findings, he adds a further discussion, and I believe it's a summary of the decision, and I'd like to read excerpts to the board for your consideration in adopting the recommendations. The hearing officer found the town has established sufficiently the charges as noted above made against the employees and has established just and good cause for discipline up to and including separating them from the town employment. This case concerns the failure of the employees to comply with lawful orders issued by the chief to report for duty. It appears that the defense of the employees is based on their dissatisfaction with the town's responses to their complaints, and that therefore justifies their disobeying a lawful order of the chief. That is not, in the totality of this situation, a good defense. As commented on above, this case is not a review or investigation of the sufficiency of the town's responses to the employees' complaints, other than to the limited extent of observing that the town did respond in a number of ways. The town's responses to their complaints and complaints regarding racial climate of the department has been addressed in various actions by the town, including but not limited to the hiring of an independent investigator, the hiring of an expert to review the racial climate of the department, both the investigator and expert providing suggestions to address issues and enhance the workplace environment, training for employees on several topics relating to the workplace, and reminders by the town of its anti-discrimination and workplace safety policies. It is understandable, the hearing officer wrote, members of the board, it is understandable that the employees and their attorneys are disappointed that disciplinary action has not been taken against those accused of engaging in wrongful conduct. However, that appears to be the result of a lack of corroborating evidence. As the chief of police pointed out to the employees, everyone involved has due process rights. It is indeed unfortunate for the employees in the town that in the various incidences there was no evidence to corroborate the employee's version or the version of the accused. If there had been such evidence, it would have been more likely that the investigation would not have resulted in some action with the finding of it being inconclusive. The employees and their attorneys would no doubt want and expect that the due process rights of the accused. Similarly, the accused would want and expect their due process rights. The fact that the town is not able to determine what really happened in the absence of additional evidence does not mean that the town does not take the matter seriously. It is noteworthy that the town, even in the absence of corroborating evidence, took several actions to address workplace issues. The responses by the town are not apparently satisfactory to the employees or their attorneys. That does not, however, make them any less of a response or less than an appropriate response. While the employees and their attorneys are free to express their views of the town's responses and suggest what that should have been done, they do not have the right to mandate to the town how it should or must respond, nor do they have the right to refuse to fulfill their duties as police officers until the town agrees with them. Mr. Chairman, I point out that this is the writings and the findings of the independent investigator who was hired to review this.
Okay.
The town's response appears.
Please, you will have a chance to speak at the end. You will have a chance to speak at the end, so please.
The The town's responses, and this is the hearing officer's writing, the town's responses appear to be meaningful and a sincere and good faith effort to address the issues. Mere dissatisfaction by the employees to the responses by the town does not make them any less meaningful, sincere, and in good faith, any more than the town not adopting their suggestions, making the suggestions less meaningful, sincere, and good faith. The simple fact of the matter is that the course of action to be taken is to be decided by the town, not the employees of their attorney.
You are out of order.
In weighing various options, the law vests the determination in the hands of the town. That the employees and the attorneys believe that an outside agency such as the United States Department of Justice should be brought in to deal with the issue, and that certain employees of the town should be disciplined and, if necessary, terminated for their involvement in the issues and responses is clear from their statements, particularly Exhibits 2 and T20. However, the employees do not get to make that decision. The order to return to work was issued, and it is incumbent on the employees to comply with it. By not doing so, they violated the order and engaged in conduct violating the departmental rules and regulations. Neither employees have reported to work since December of 2015. The town has tried to work with them to bring about their return to work. The town even offered them that they would initially be assigned to work in the station. The town reached out numerous times to the employees directly and through their attorneys to meet with them to discuss their return to duty. It is unfortunately clear from the documentary evidence that the employees do not want to meet to discuss their return to work until the town accepted conditions set forth by the employees and their attorneys. The town was under no obligation to accept those preconditions in order to meet with the employees and their attorneys. Speaking generally, and this is again the findings of the hearing officer, speaking generally, racism, discrimination, and actions creating an unsafe workplace all have no place in society and should be opposed and eliminated. This hearing and the report and recommendations cannot be taken to detract from that message. In order to properly address such issues complained of by the employees, as well as good public policy, the town has taken a number of steps outlined in this report and in the exhibits. The town has reached out numerous times to the employees to be part of the process to address the issues. The employees and the attorneys have made suggestions as to some of the ways these issues can be addressed. If the employees and the attorneys insist on conditioning their further participation in the process on the town having to first agree to the suggestions, that is their choice. That does not excuse the employees from returning to work if they wish to remain employees of the town. However, as related to the continued employment of the employees, the town needs to move forward. Not having the employees return to work means that the department is not operating at the level it can and should be operating. Their positions have been held for them since December 2015. As the town has noted on several occasions, it cannot continue to keep their positions open. If they do not wish to return to work, particularly in view of a clear order of the police chief, the town has little choice but to move forward and separate them from employment. Separation from employment, i.e. termination, is the appropriate action for the town to take at this time. The record is replete with communications urging the employees to return to work and reminding them that their positions cannot be kept unfilled indefinitely. A clear and unambiguous order to report to work was issued by the chief. They have chosen not to comply with it, and thus they have failed to obey it. A suspension will not solve the problem of these two positions not being filled. There is no position to demote the employees to. The outcome here is unfortunate for all parties. The employees care for their community and their positions. They are well regarded in the community and within the department. This was acknowledged by the town and is evident by the community support shown at the hearing. The town has made an investment in their training and service to the community. However, this stalemate must end. Having found that the violations alleged to have occurred, termination is the appropriate disposition, the hearing officer so found. Therefore, it is my recommendation that the employees be terminated from their positions within the Brookline Police Department in view of their violations of the departmental rules and regulations, and in particular their failure to report to work as ordered by the chief. Accordingly, members of the board, and that's the conclusion of the hearing officer, is that just and good cause exists for their separation and termination from employment. Accordingly, Mr. Chair and members of the board, it is now incumbent before the board to vote action on this recommended hearing in findings of fact and to determine whether just cause existed to proceed with termination. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lewison. Ms. Schwab?
Good morning. I'm presenting these comments on behalf of the officers.
Just
Prentice
identify
Pilot.
yourself for the record, please.
As I have, I am Hillary Schwab, and I'm representing and speaking on behalf of Prentice Pilot and Estefanos Zerai Mizgun. Before I go into my prepared comments, I just want to say a couple of things in response to what Mr. Lewison said. First, I want to be clear about what we're doing here today. Nothing has happened yet. You have not yet terminated the officers. You do not have to do it. There are 5 of you up there. You have 5 votes. Any of you who feel that what is happening is wrong, any of you who value the members of the community who are here today, you do not have to vote to terminate these officers. Before I get into my prepared comments, I also want to express the officers' deep, deep gratitude to the good people of Brookline who have come to support them and those who have expressed their support in other ways. As I'm sure you know, members of the Board of Selectmen, you could not have picked a worse day for this. It is a religious holiday for many of the members of the community. It is the first day of school vacation. Many members of the community are rendered without childcare today, unable to attend. So I greatly appreciate, and the officers greatly appreciate the show of support that they have here, in spite of what was quite clearly the town's efforts to keep this as small a group as possible. I also want to clarify, because Mr. Lewison explained how he characterized the evidence that was presented at the hearing before the hearing officer. First, the town presented no testimony. It presented no witnesses. It presented nothing but a giant stack of paper that we had not been presented with prior to the hearing. Mr. Lewison explained what we presented as exhibits, quote, seeking monetary damages, when in fact that's not what we presented at all. What we presented was our court complaint and a letter that we had sent to the town detailing the steps that the town could and should take to address the endemic problem of racism in the town. This is not and has never has been about monetary damages only. It has been about dealing with this problem that the town has and refuses to acknowledge. In addition to the exhibits, we also presented a detailed explanation of what precisely had happened to the officers, the inadequacy of the investigations conducted by the chief of police and the town into those issues, and why they've refused to return to work. And again, I want to address something that Mr. Lewison said. He said, well, there was no corroboration for what they said. In other words, the officers explained what happened. It was denied, not surprisingly, by the superior officers and others who had made the statements, and the town left it at that. Can you imagine if our police department operated like that? If when an accused was confronted and said they didn't do it, the town backed off and said, okay, there's no corroboration, we can't pursue it. That's never the way an investigation is conducted, and the fact that it was conducted in that way here shows how little the town cares about these incredibly serious issues. I'd like to begin now my prepared comments, not my extemporaneous frustrated responses to what Mr. Lewison has said. 15 months ago, on December 22nd, 2015, Police officers Prentice Pilot and Estefanos Zerai Mizgun came to a Board of Selectmen meeting in this room, at which they were prepared to speak to you, the Board of Selectmen, about the racism they had experienced in the Brookline Police Department. You, the Board of Selectmen, turned your back on the officers and the public at that meeting, immediately retreating into executive session so you didn't have to hear what you already knew too well, that this town has a serious problem with unchecked racism. So at that meeting, when you all chose not to be present, the officers spoke to the community and the members of the press that were attending and shared their experiences. They told at that meeting of the racial slurs that had been directed at them by other officers, including superior officers. They told about being referred by other officers as an FI, or field investigation, meaning a suspicious individual who should be stopped and questioned, with the not that subtle message that African Americans in Brookline are criminals, not police officers. They told of going to their chief to ask him to investigate these incidents and put a stop to the culture of racism in the department, only to have nothing done and to be left to twist in the wind alone. Since then, Officers Pilot and Zerai Mizgun have continued to stand up, speak out about the racism in this town, and fight it, both by filing this lawsuit, the lawsuit that we've filed challenging the hostile work environment and retaliation they've suffered, and by refusing to return to work in a racially hostile environment that's unsafe for them. And the Board of Selectmen has continued to turn its back on this problem. You have continued to turn your back on this problem, just like you did when you went into executive session in December 2015. You've done that in a number of ways. The board rejected the statement of the town's own Commission for Diversity, Inclusion, and Community Relations, a statement made directly to you, the Board of Selectmen, that you had allowed a culture of institutional racism to exist in the town, and that it was up to town officials to urgently stamp this culture out. Now, rather than take these words to heart and address the issue head on, you proceeded, as the Board of Selectmen, to attempt to intimidate the Diversity Commission into withdrawing or backing down from that statement. Members of the Board of Selectmen have also attempted to undermine and discredit Officers Pilot and Zerai Mizgun in hopes that people won't take these concerns as seriously. And the town and the Board of Selectmen have refused our offers to try to resolve this issue and have rejected our concrete proposals in that regard, preferring instead to maintain the status quo. And now you appear ready to turn your back on addressing racism in this town yet again by voting to terminate the employment of Officers Pilot and Zerai Mizgun. The town itself has said, Mr. Lewison noted, these officers are highly regarded and well-respected members of the department. Indeed, they are. They are exactly the type of officers that this town needs more of, not less of. The show of the support from the community today is a testament to that, as it has been throughout this process. And I just want to point out the difference here between the back of the room and the front of the room. There should not be a difference. You work for us. You work for the town of Brookline. This is the town of Brookline. Throughout the past 15 months and before, the officers, supported by the community, have held their heads high as they have spoken truth to power. They have said what they have to say to this body. It's now up to you. If you terminate the officers today, please know what you are doing. You are cutting off any possibility of resolving this issue and returning these two stellar officers to work. You are causing the town to lose two beloved police officers. And you are saying that Brookline's the kind of town that would rather terminate two African-American police officers and make a virtually all-white police force even less diverse than face the deep-seated racism in the town and in the police department. You are telling the members of this community, we don't care what you want. We don't care about fixing the problems with racism in this town. You, the 5 of you, Select Person Heller, Select Person Franco, Select Person Wyszynski, Select Person Daly, and Select Person Green, you, the 5 of you, have an opportunity today, right now, to turn things around. This is your last chance to do it. I ask you to take this opportunity. I ask you to face this problem. Do not fire Officer Pilot and Officer Zerai Mizgun.
Okay, there will be a motion before us. And the motion will be that the Board of Selectmen, in its capacity. Oh,
If I may.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
Mr. Chairman.
I'm recognizing Mr. Lewison.
Thank you. This is simply to put more information before you, and since this is a public hearing, I think it's essential to address the misrepresentations and mischaracterizations. Mr. Chair,
No.
Mr. Lewison, we continue talking, we can hear you.
No.
We can hear you.
Yeah, we will let Ms. Schwab have the opportunity for the last word after Mr. Lewison. So,
Mr. Chair, my only purpose for asking for more time is to, since this is a public proceeding, I think it's essential that accurate and correct facts are put before this board in its determinations. I know that you've all reviewed the findings of fact and recommended decision. Within that is the notation and clarification of the exhaustive investigation that the police department conducted based upon the allegations that both officers put before the chief. It is also documents in that findings of fact the exhaustive and extensive steps that the police chief in this town took to ameliorate and to address concerns of racism and the environment, including, as we pointed out, outside experts on racial climate and outside experts on the practices and procedures of this department. They're all incorporated within this findings of fact. And all available for anyone who wants to read it on the public website, my understanding at the conclusion of this proceeding. The most important thing to point out is that the employees had the opportunity to present whatever information they chose to at the underlying evidentiary hearing, and as I pointed out, neither chose to speak at all, but for bringing their attorneys, who are the ones who have filed the monetary damages complaint in court. The police chief.
okay.
Continue.
Okay.
Continue.
Mr. Chair, it's also important to point out that the efforts to return the two police officers to work have continued. The police chief, in the lack of any other way of saying it, the police chief has begged them through their counsel and directly to return to work, to come to work, and they refuse to do it. You also note, Mr. Chairman, that the efforts to return them to work included going to an outside mediator selected with the acquiescence of their counsel to mediate the efforts. And so it's simply inaccurate and false to suggest before a public proceeding that the police department, the police chief, or this board in town has not taken extraordinary actions to return them to work. As late as yesterday, not complying with the requirements that the statute calls for, the attorneys have said, let's continue to try and talk. Town council repeatedly via email correspondence last evening asked council to give proposals. They refused to respond with any concrete proposals other than the rehashing of statements made a year ago that somehow inexplicably the Department of Justice should intervene in the Brookline Police Department. So I just wanted to clarify those facts for the board. Now I think it is timely, if you want to hear further information, but it might be timely to vote. Thank you.
I said I would allow Ms. Schwab another. Okay. There's going to be a motion before us. Oh, would you like to?
Yes, I would.
Okay.
I have one comment, which is, please let the community speak.
Community will speak after the board conducts its business.
Excuse me, I'm sorry, Chair, just to clarify, so are you allowing the community to speak prior to your vote?
No.
We have never been
We-
let to speak. We've shown up repeatedly to speak. When do we get to speak?
You will speak after we do our business. The motion before the board will be,
You know what? You know what? You know what? I'm tired. I'm tired. Just like I'm tired, I'm not going nowhere. I'm not.
we are
You
conducting our
have to
business.
understand something.
We
We are all human beings. You all have to
I move
understand
that
something.
the Board of
okay?
Selectmen in its
What you
capacity
did
as
to me,
appointing authority
you're
for
doing
the
to these
officers'
police officers.
positions,
It's not
adopt
fair.
And I am not
The
going
way,
anywhere.
we're not going anywhere.
Of the
way
hearing
you
officers.
treated these police officers is the same way you treated me. And look at these people out here. They see it. They know it. Okay? It's not fair. It's not fair.
recommendations of the
And what you
hearing-
need to understand is in order for you to be right with yourself, you have to be right with these people. You ain't right with these people. You're far from right with these people. You're not right with
that
the police
the Board of
officers.
Selectmen
You're not right with me.
its
So
capacity
get it
to
right.
authority for
Once
the
you
officers'
get it right,
positions,
then these people will listen to you.
That's right.
recommendations of the hearing officers
Justice,
contained in the report.
truth, and justice will prevail. We are not
2017,
stopping.
and find
You
that
did
there's
the same
cause
thing
of
with my
contempt law,
case,
Chapter
and I will
31,
speak until I have no
Section
breath
41,
left.
to
I will
terminate the
stand
office
here, and I will be here in
Town of
Brookline to
on the
stand for
grounds set
justice
forth
as
in the
our
hearing officer's report.
forefathers have done.
Further,
We will
the board
indeed
authorizes the
stand
chair to
firm,
work
and
with
justice
counsel
and truth
to give the
shall
officer
prevail.
a motion
Today may be
with
Good
notice of the
Friday,
board's
but
decision.
we will rise for justice and
Is
truth.
there
Today
discussion?
may be Good Friday. We may be crucified today, but we will rise
All those
in
in favor of
justice
the
and truth. And we will do it in peace and love and stand on the
Franklin.
foundation of our
Selectman Fuller.
forefathers that fought for us to be here and fight against
Chair
the
votes aye.
hypocrisy and the injustice. How can you live with yourself? How can you look at yourself in the mirrors? Where is your courage? Where is your shame? Have you no dignity? Have you no integrity? God have mercy on you all. Being the status quo, it is an abomination to humanity. My case, I've talked to every top person in this town, in the state, and not one of you even had the decency to come to me and say, Leslie, Karen Epps, you've served our town 10 years as a school nurse. You served our town so well, you've had money donated to the Brookline Community Foundation under your name. Your son won an Unsung Hero Award by the Brookline Community Foundation. Please, let us know what happened, because we do care. You're our only African-American-owned retail store. I swear, I will take my last breath fighting for what is right, true, and just.
You know what you got to understand? Let me explain something to you. You know what you have to understand? And I learned this from my dad, long time ago. The man I respect, that's my hero, okay? You gotta give the respect to get respect. And right now, you're not respecting us as human beings, period. You can't make me believe, or anybody standing here, that what you did to me and what you're doing to them is just, because it's not. You all know that. You get up in the morning, I look at you, man, every time I see you, I got so much respect for you, I can't even look at you and be mad at you. I can't. Because you know what? You know. You feel it. You do. Don't fall victim to that. Okay? Don't fall victim to the idiocy, because what's going to happen when it all falls, everyone's going to be running away pointing the finger. Don't do that. Don't destroy yourself or anybody else. Stand up, man. Be honest with yourself, okay? Be honest with yourself. You fired me. Don't fire these men. Don't do that. How are you going to have him get up here and talk about how good they are and how well respected they are and then fire them? How are you going to get up here and have this man say something about this they have no proof of what's going on? Are you kidding me? Let's be realistic, people. Just like I said to you the last time I was here, I ain't going nowhere. I'm like cancer. Either you're going to beat it or you're going to die. Okay? I'm not going nowhere. Nowhere. Trust me. Every time you open your eyes and have a meeting like this with people like this who are respecting the officers' positions, I'm gonna be right here. So we have a lot of work to do, guys. Either we can work together. Am I angry? Yeah. I'm upset. But let me tell you something. Either we can get up here and work together, and I'm willing to step in the ring with you guys and work this out. Because there's a lot of good people that live out here in Brookline. Either we can do it that way, or we can do it a whole nother way. And the other way is not what you do as a human being, period. You don't do that. Nobody up there is getting no extra pay for stepping out of themselves and becoming somebody they're not. If you were up here, each and every one of you, you'd be doing the same thing. These people voted y'all in. Really?
And for you all to fire 2 reputable officers, that sends a message to those that are still being victimized. This is the penalty that you pay for speaking up and speaking out against what is wrong. You all have a responsibility to humanity. You have been placed in a position to make a difference. Even if you have to stand alone, you find the courage, because truth indeed will find you. You stand alone and do what's right. I've had experiences with each and every one of you, some fair and some very unjust. Somebody has to break the cycle, and Brookline is supposed to be a liberal town, very affluent community, the Kennedy place of birth. We need to start somewhere. This is not just limited to Brookline. It is nationwide. We must start somewhere.
Would you know, there's
I'm going to stop. I'm going to let you guys do your job. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to back away. I'm going to let you guys do your job. Just one of y'all stand up. All right? Somebody stand up for these people, man.
This is how change is made.
Listen, and the more you look, I love looking at you now, man, because I'm smiling. See, I'm unemployed. You know what I'm saying? I'm getting health benefits through the state. So you want to sit up there and smile. I can smile too. I got brand new teeth thanks to the state. Okay? So I'm going to smile at you all day. I'm not leaving. I think for sure at some point, somebody's got to think for themselves, man. Think about it. Do you think this is going somewhere? It's not. It's not. I asked y'all the first time I sent out a letter to keep it in-house and fix it in-house. That's right. And you didn't. I'm begging y'all at this point, because once this gets out, all hell's going to break loose. I'm begging y'all to fix it in-house. All right? I'm gone, but save those men, man. Give those men their jobs. Because if you don't, the public's going to know what's really going on in here. What's going to happen is every other town and a municipality in Massachusetts is going to look at y'all and laugh. See, for the longest time, I didn't talk about who I know. I know a lot of people in Brookline. I do. I didn't call in no favors. I don't need to. But at this point, I'm calling in the favors. And there's people out here who know who I'm talking about. There's people out here who know who I know that live in Brookline, that pay a lot of money for y'all to be up there looking like the peanut gallery. Don't do it. Please, you're smarter than that. You? I'm not even going to call you my friend because I don't know if you are or not. Listen. Like I said, every time I look at everyone's face up there, I get a little eerie. My skin crawls. The hair stands up until I look at you. I don't get that feeling when I look at you. I don't. So you know it's right. And if you left it up to me, you'd be in that position, not him. Because you're smarter than that.
Make the right choice.
Justice will ultimately be served.
It would be good if you can identify yourself when you come to the podium and state your address.
Okay, sure. My name is. My name is Larioni. I've been a taxpayer in Brookline since 1977, lived in Brookline since 1974, and I want to ask Chairman Walensky, Wyszynski, I'm sorry, Neil, are you a police commissioner?
The statute says we are police commissioners.
Can you translate that for me with the statute, what that means?
I'm not answering questions. You
Okay.
can speak to us.
Okay. So I don't think most people in town understand that the five of you are police commissioners. And the public administrator in me understands that one can delegate authority to people when you're an elected official. But as a police commissioner, it puzzles me how you can think that you can delegate responsibility to anybody else but the five of you. Does that make sense? Do you agree with me that you can't delegate responsibility, Chairman?
There's a lot of delegation done in
But can you
government.
delegate responsibility as a police commissioner?
I'm not engaging in a dialogue,
Okay.
Ms. Oni.
Two things, Neil. One is, the first thing is that this is the second time that I've been present when you have, in effect, said, I'm not answering questions. And that is very, very dangerous to do in this community. Because at the end of the day, whoever produced the organizational chart, and I'm assume it's the public safety commissioners, the five of you, that the citizens are at the top of the chart. So when you five police commissioners are telling us that you're going to make a decision without hearing from the public today, all this does, Neil, is that it destroys the credibility of the five of you of being police commissioners. But at the end of the day, each of you are responsible, okay? You cannot delegate that responsibility. And what you're doing is affecting the morale of our public safety officers who are on the front line, who do the work on a daily basis. But, and Ben, you're up for re-election, okay? There's something called on the street called the majority of one. And many people are looking for you to be a majority one with your other commissioners here. Thank you.
My name is Ann Weaver, and I live in Brookline, and my son is with me today because it's school vacation. He wrote down some questions that he would like me to ask you. Why exactly did you not try to fix the problem? Did you talk to the police who were involved with the racial bullying? Why did you pick this day for this hearing? And doesn't the Constitution state liberty and justice for all? Thank you.
Thank you.
Very quickly.
Did you already vote? We were just told, the Sheriff of Holston State vote.
You voted?
We did.
Atrocious.
We did. You can speak.
Tell us what you voted.
What did you vote?
We voted aye on the motion, each of us. Please speak.
We are
We voted aye.
citizens here.
Each one of us voted aye on the motion.
You really do not deserve to be where you sit down representing the citizens. Not only that, we're here and we are demanding answers. And while we are asking questions, we demand the answers to those questions. Instead, what we get is that you are not only not listening, but you are acting right in front of us in silence, taking a vote. What does it say
No,
to you?
We were speaking when someone was speaking out of
And you were
order.
taking a vote?
Okay.
And you were taking
You've said
a
your
vote?
piece. You can sit down.
I can't believe you.
Your system is out of order.
Okay.
That's right.
We are not.
Okay. Do you have anything else that you'd like
Yes,
to say?
I am waiting for the answers to every question that has been asked of you.
Okay. I'm not engaging in a dialogue at this meeting.
You don't represent us.
Okay.
You take. Do your job. Do your job. Do your job.
Would you like to say anything else to us?
Yes. You are cowards. You
Okay.
are the problem.
What? You fired me for not doing my job. Y'all are all fired.
Yes, fired. They should be fired.
I mean, I don't know.
Please identify yourself and state your address.
Yeah, my name's Rebecca Uchel. I'm a taxpayer in Brookline. I live at 126 Park Street, and I'm a voter here. I went through the charade of preparing some comments, even knowing that we would not be able to speak before the vote. I'm not convinced by the recommendation of the hearing officer on the basis of an affirmative response to 3 limited and discrete questions. Did the officers engage in certain behavior? Was it a violation? Is that a basis to discipline? You get the answers to the questions that you ask. What would the conclusions have been if the questions were, did the officers have reason to fear for their safety on the job? What appropriate solutions might have been employed to address the problems of the Brookline Police Department and its systemic racism? To return to those 3 questions, did they engage in the behavior of not showing up for work? Well, yes, but then I would ask the question, why? And if there's a reason that they shouldn't have and that they had good reason not to, then the answers to the other questions really don't matter. Due process throughout this procedure has been absolutely wild. I mean, this is the second time I've stood at this podium and called it absurd. It's the second time I've jumped out of the audience and asked, when will we speak? Larry points out the citizens are the top of the organizational chart. I think that's still the case. I think that the idea is that we are in dialogue. That is how the civic procedure of this town is to operate. That's the purpose for something like a public hearing. And to be constantly told that, do you disagree?
This is not a public hearing. This is,
It's
this
an
is
open
a
hearing. It's an
decisional
open
meeting
hearing. Yeah, so
under civil service
okay,
law.
but I've shown up repeatedly to have the opportunity to speak. And So have many of us here, and we haven't had that opportunity. And, you know, it's kind of ridiculous that we have to jump out of the audience and like grab the microphone and play music to ensure that, you know, the counsel for the opposing party is going to have her chance to speak, which is, you know, really only fair. I just don't understand the process. I really don't. I'm so disheartened. I knew that you were voting while people were speaking here at the podium. I am so disappointed in all of you. I really am. I'm so sad. I really want to believe in the civic procedure of this community that I moved to recently. And you have to know somewhere deep down that what you did just now was both aggressive and turning your backs on the community here.
Hi, Scott Murphy. I live on Chestnut Street. I had 2 points I wanted a series of questions around, but I'll just throw them out there. One, Ian covered as far as, you know, what factors went in your decision to hold a hearing this morning. And the other one, I just want a clarification. The hearing officer, James Lampke, I understand that he's part of the same association he belongs to as our town council, I assume, the Mass Municipal Lawyers Association. And he's not only a member, he's also an officer with that association. Do you know what his title is? Let me answer it for you. He's executive director. At least that's what's listed on the website. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. Steve Lipset, 26 Davis Ave. I've lived in Brookline since 1961. But I couldn't vote until 1976. I'd like to urge the selectmen to revisit the investigation, not least because of possible lack of independence of the lead investigator, and also encourage the selectmen to vigorously reopen a channel of communication with Officers' Council about possible mediation and other remedies. It seems, as an outside observer, it seems as if there may have been some obstacles on both sides that prevented that process from really bearing fruit, and that there might be some possibility there. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Abram Shipman, and I live on St. Paul Street. I want to take a very tiny exception to what the attorney for the two officers has said, namely that it was an inappropriate date to schedule this hearing. I think it was a very appropriate date when the world notes the crucifixion of Jesus Christ, and I think what this board is doing is getting ready to perform a bureaucratic crucifixion of these two excellent policemen. And I'm very serioso about that, to quote the quartet that the musicians back there played a few bars of before. And the only other thing I would wonder if this audience is feeling generous and charitable, that they will at least forgive you for you know not what you do.
They know what they do.
Okay. Would anyone else wish to okay.
My name's Kara Lopez Salvi. I am both an educator in Brookline as well as a parent of students in Brookline.
And your address?
45 Adams Ave, Watertown,
Okay.
Massachusetts.
20 Henry Street.
Okay. So I'm here not just to speak on behalf of Officers Zarai and Pilot, but also and especially on behalf of the young people of Brookline. I know both Officer Zarai and Pilot personally. Officer Zarai was one of my students at BHS. What a joy it is to know a former student has followed and achieved his dream. Even more than that, though, what a joy to know that a former student, a black male who grew up in the developments of Brookline, was a police officer in the Brookline Police Department. You see, my family hasn't had the best experience with the Brookline Police Department. My husband came here a year ago and spoke to all of you about his experience when he was working as a Steps to Success advisor in the Brookline Public Schools. He had just parked his car next to the Lincoln School where his office was. He was stopped by a patrol car, passed him, stopped and turned around, and the officer got out of his patrol car and started asking him questions. Even though my husband provided ID and told him he was staff at Lincoln School, the officer told him he fit a profile of someone who had just committed robbery in the neighborhood. I actually asked my husband the other day, did you ever follow up to see if there was actually a robbery in that neighborhood? He said he hadn't. I wonder. Ever since then, we are wary of his time in Brookline. We worry for our sons who go to school in Brookline. But when I saw that Esty was on the force, I felt that Brookline Police Department was moving in the right direction. That profiling was going to begin to disappear as a new, diverse generation of young officers came of age in the department. Esty knows Brookline and the young people here. He has relationships with them, relationships and relationship building. These are the proactive strategies to use to address immediate conditions that give rise to public safety issues. Esty was already ahead of the game in that department. Speaking of relationships, I saw firsthand the relationship building of Officer Pilot did over the years, numerous years he worked at Brookline as a safety officer in the Brookline Public Schools, including at Brookline High School. I worked alongside Officer Pilot when he would be a guest speaker at Allison Tony's peer education and freshman health classes at BHS. The students love Officer Pilot. He has a natural way with the kids and a fantastic rapport. He too was way ahead of the game in the department of proactive strategies used to address immediate conditions that give rise to public safety issues. Yet here we are, letting two extremely valuable members of the Brookline Police Department be terminated. Instead of valuing their voice, their truth, their experience, you fire them. Shame on each one of you. You have been entrusted with your positions to listen. Listen to the people of Brookline. Listen for the people of Brookline. You have not listened. As a result, this community is worse off, and the children, my students, my sons, are worse off. Officer Sarai and Pilot, you are not here, but thank you. Thank you for all you have done, especially for being a model of courage and bravery, for standing up to the worst forms of discrimination and the institutional racism that we are seeing here today, that we see every day in our institutions in Brookline. I am sorry that we have not done right by you today.
My name is Schiffer Free Woman. I live on Longwood Ave. I've lived here since 2004. And I feel heartbroken. I have been to many meetings, and I don't have any sense, I have never had a sense that discrimination is taken seriously here. I was harassed on a job once, and my boss had my back. He looked out for me and took care of me. I do not feel that any of you have our backs. You work for us. And I'm so tired of friends who are made ill by the racism of this town. I usually don't feel that comfortable with police officers because I don't like guns. And these are two gentle, kind men. They're very non-intimidating. It feels like an inquisition to me. Nothing is done. Gerald Alston was fired. Now these men are being fired. Nothing is done when people face discrimination. I never for a second had any faith whatsoever in your investigations because it does not match what I have seen in this town, and it does not match the lived experience of the people of color that I know, like the police coming into my building and asking a black man sitting quietly watching television for his ID card. I talked with a black woman who was escorted out of the town because she dared to drive through here. When I speak with black people, they tell me they do not like to drive through this town. It's Passover. It's supposed to be about liberation. It's Easter. Where's the liberation? Everyone's upset about Trump. I am too. But what about this town? There's talk about a sanctuary city. Okay? I believe that there should be a sanctuary city for undocumented immigrants. But where's the sanctuary for black people? Where is the sanctuary? Do we want this to be a town where I want to live in a town where people feel welcome, where when I talk to a Latina gay woman, she just tells me, I don't feel comfortable walking around here. And frankly, I don't feel that comfortable. Nobody's done me any violence, but I don't feel a friendliness. I don't feel a sense of welcome. I don't feel a sense of love. I want a sense of love, like the love that people have shown to me, like Leslie. I want a sense of love. Where is the love? Where is the love? When are we going to do the right thing and be about love and be about welcome and be about inclusion and be about caring and be about kindness? I've had enough. You all need to be terminated. You are not doing your jobs. Go home. Go to your country clubs. You run this town like a private club. You are answerable to us. To us. I can't believe the beauty I see in people like Mr. Alston, like I see in the two police officers, like I see in Leslie. Where is the beauty? Where is the love? Where is the kindness? I want to know. I want to see it. I want to live to see it. It will come. And you have turned your back on us. You have turned your back on love and light. You have turned your back on goodness and decency. Don't do it. Change your vote or go home and have people who represent the town and who express love and caring and kindness. I have the feeling someone could come here and say my mother had been shot in the heart, and you would sit there impassive, not caring. Maybe you're afraid. I don't know. I know that the officers are afraid to return to work, and I know they have good reason to be afraid. And I've been afraid all my life. I don't want to be afraid anymore. And I don't want people in this town to be afraid. I want everyone to be welcomed and loved. I don't know where the openness is. Open your hearts to love. It's so bureaucratic. There's so not a sense of love or caring. Where is the love and where is the caring? That's what I want to see. I'm not seeing it, but I'm going to hopefully live to see it.
I'm Savion Cohen. I want to talk about the fact that people often talk about how you're volunteers and you give so much to this town. Mel Kleckner, we pay you $214,000 a year, plus perks. This is not volunteer, folks. There's money here. The other thing some people know, some people don't, always worth repeating, not only are these the police commissioners, they are the fire commissioners. Gerald Alston never had a chance. And this town is being strangled because all of the accountability is right there. You can keep pretending you're going to delegate, it's going to go here. What was the Dicker Commission? Really, it was there? No, it's you. We know it's you. Last thing, I want to talk about the absurdity of the investigation. First of all, it wasn't an investigation in any way that people normally understand that word. Reading the reports you guys had already written is not an investigation. Secondly, your investigator, unlicensed, with some town connections, decided that Prentice Pilot didn't know the N-word when he was called it. He decided it must have been the word naked. Yeah, that was it. That's it. Let's go with that. Get up there and do some naked jumping jacks for me. How plausible is that? And then your investigator actually writes in his report, well, I looked it up on Wikipedia. For real. I have the documents. He says that the white officer who used the N-word, I'm sure Prentice Pilot was wrong, maybe he's got a speech impediment. Hey, Mayor Menino mumbled, right? And that's his conclusion. I didn't consult a speech pathologist, it says verbatim, but I did look it up on Wikipedia. And that's all it took, right? Because you weren't interested in justice. You were just in an excuse. Just tie the boat, done. Nobody speaks up about racism in Brookline, but it backfired on you. Because no one is going to shut up about the racism in Brookline and in you.
Anyone else wish to speak?
How you doing? My name is Pedro Hernandez. I'm not a resident of Brookline, but I'm a police officer in the city of Boston, and I'm just here to support my minorities. This does happen a lot, not only with Brookline, but it happens to a lot of different police departments that we have to go through this. And you guys are telling the police officers to come back to a department that's racist. How you expect them to do their job if they get a call and we're thinking about in the back of their head, are these guys going to back me up or they're going to let me get killed out in the duty? So my thing is, if it was the other way around, would we even be having this conversation right now?
Arthur Conquest, 115 Tappan Street. Let me just say three things. First, I agree, Tuesday was Passover, and you didn't have your evening meeting, okay? And you changed it to Thursday. And here we are, Good Friday, and you didn't have the decency to change it to this meeting till Monday. Would it have hurt? All right, I really think that it's an insult to many of the people in the audience, but also Christians in the town. The second thing, yes, we now have Donald Trump as our president, and that's just the way it goes. But we have to also remember that 75% of the population, 70% of the population in this country didn't vote. They don't really care. Those 5 people up there, they don't really care. That's what they think of us, the N-word. That's what, okay, this isn't the first. We have Gerald Alston, but there are many, many other instances where this has happened in the town with black people. It doesn't matter to them. That's what, okay? So, I say, okay, let's do it with our vote. Let's come, all these people in this room, come together at some point, show them at the ballot box. That's the only thing they understand. And it's on us that this is occurring the way it is. All right? Thank you very much.
I just want to ask you, for the record, I'm asking you on behalf of the community that is here to act on a motion to reverse your vote. And I'm going to ask you now, or if you want to call and discuss and then vote, before every single one of us.
We have
So-
already taken our vote.
I will ask then, Nancy Heller, do you vote to reverse it? Do you reverse your vote?
We have taken our vote. If
Benjamin
you would like to
Frankel,
make a statement, please make a
Do you reverse your
statement.
vote? Neil Wyshynski, do you reverse your vote?
Please make a statement.
Nancy Daly, do you reverse your vote?
How dare you violate it on Good Friday?
Bernard Green, do you reverse your vote?
Okay.
And one person.
Does anyone else wish to speak?
Peace and blessings. My name is Charles Clemens Muhammad. I am a former Walaikum Salam. I do not reside in Brookline, but I do drive through Brookline. And when I do drive through Brookline, of course, I think about being pulled over because I am black. I'm a former Boston police officer who left the Boston Police Department in 2000 because of racism and discrimination. I understand racism and discrimination. However, justice means fair dealings. That's all justice means. And it's obvious from the outside there is no fair dealings that's going on here. As commissioners, you should understand what's right and what's wrong. The community says that what's going on here is not justice. I say that if you have a conscience, to reconsider what you did in front of the people, or you must have already had the vote done prior to this. I'm saying that don't shake your head no, because we know what happened. It's obvious. I'm saying that for what's right, it's not rocket science to do the right thing. And do the right thing for these officers, do the right thing for the citizens and the residents, do the right thing for Brookline. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to speak?
Hello, my name is Sasha Callahan. I'm not a current resident of Brookline, but I am a former resident of Brookline, and I've taught music in Brookline, continue to teach music in Brookline for about 15 years. As a professional musician, you would think that my job was to make noise, make sound, but really my job is to listen. And what I try to teach my students is to listen, and to listen to everyone, to listen to everything that comes in. My almost 5-year-old daughter is here with me today. I'm trying to teach her about the importance of speaking out and the importance of listening. I think all of our children need that message desperately. And the thing that distresses me the most is that you have sat here and you're only willing to listen after you've made your decision. And I just want you to think about that in relation to your children, relation to my child, our children, and our community. Do we want to model a basis of making decisions only when we think we already know the answers and before we actually listen to viewpoints that are different from our own? So.
Anyone else wish to speak? Mr. Nagel?
My name is Richard Nangle. I'm a town meeting member in Precinct 15. I hadn't planned to speak today, but in 30 years as a news reporter, that is the most cowardly vote I have ever seen in my life. You know, I just want to make a couple of points, because the points have been made. But one observation I've made in my years of journalism is that police departments will do backwards somersaults, naked jumping jacks, if you will, to keep the public from believing that they are nothing more than an arm of the government. The police department is an arm of the government. They don't run you. You run them. We all run them. And that seems to have been forgotten here. The other point I want to make is that while there seems to be a lot of parsing about each one of these individual situations, well, you know, we don't know if this happened, and, you know, nobody's able to corroborate that. At a certain point, you have to be able to say to yourself, doesn't the whole become greater than the sum of the parts?
Yeah. I think two more speakers, and then I think that's going to be it.
Hi, my name is Abby Erdman. I had the honor of teaching in Brookline for 38 years. And I have the honor of being back in Brookline, founding a new organization called Brookline for Racial Justice and Equity. Brookline for Racial Justice and Equity. I'm heartbroken today. I'm heartbroken because I feel like this was an avoidable situation had you all paused when the complaints came in and said, we need to listen. As the music teacher just said, we need to listen. We need to figure this out. Racism is a hard thing to reverse. It takes a community to reverse it. And we all need to work against it. It's not in your interest. It's certainly not in the interest of the people in this room. Racism is not a good thing. We need to upend it. And the vote today is not an upending. It's a making it more permanent. So I feel very sad, and I feel furious, and we will keep working. Thank you.
My name is Eli Neuberger, and since June of 1972, I've been a resident of Brookline. I work as a pediatrician, and I brought out several years ago a book on character development, published by Perseus Books. It's called The Men They Will Become, The Nature and Nurture of Male Character. And in the course of my work at Boston Children's Hospital, where I founded and directed for 30 years the Child Protection Program, I interviewed very many battering men and many victims of child abuse and children who experienced domestic violence, where their mothers were assaulted. I became deeply interested in the origins of these problems, and that's what led me to write this book. And if there's a single lesson that I learned in the course of this writing, is that character is defined. Character manifests. Character can be evaluated about how individuals act at that moral nexus where they need to reconcile their impulses, their desires against the needs and rights of others. Individuals have characters. It's clear to me that each of you have in your decision at this moral nexus have manifested severe characterological problems. And then further, towns, population centers also have characters. And to the extent that you represent the values of this town and carry responsibility for the values of this town ought to be ashamed of what its character appears to be.
Last speaker.
My name is Jeremy Block. I'm a resident of 6 Gibb Street. I've been living there since 1985, and Brookline since 1980. I'm also a teacher in the public schools for the last 15 years in Brookline. I just want to say that, really echoing everything that's come before, that either the two officers are exploiting the situation for personal gain and showing a tremendous lack of integrity, which I don't think is the case, or else they're the victims of racism and the town has deep issues that it needs to address and acknowledge. And since you guys, the select persons here, hold all the institutional power in this situation, and this is the outcome, you failed. And that's a sad fact, because there's no reason why we should come to this kind of outcome after, them trying to honestly and faithfully bring forward issues of concern that needed to be addressed openly and successfully, and we're not. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, our business is concluded. Thank you.
I came here a year ago to speak with you, and I called on the council to think of yourselves as a national model. Well, now you've become a national model. You become a national model of disgrace, and you stand for everything that we are fighting against. But we have one message for you. We shall not be like a tree in water. We shall not be moved. We shall not be moved. This is a song of mourning today.
Okay.
I am mourning for the town of Brookline, for our country. I hope you find in your hearts the way we are crying.
Thank you.